All right, we have an events manager and scale of events when it comes to yours truly events after the pandemic period have risen, and of course coupled with the fact that many like having their events around the Christmas period right now. So my first question to you, we just had the executive director of Wimbys in the studio in the first segment of the show that made us understand that the women are poised to succeed, and provided they are resilient and in their businesses. So what is your journey been thus far when it comes to a female entrepreneur?
Thank you for having me, Kike. It's a pleasure to be here. Yes, I did hear her, and women are poised to succeed in what they do. It's ingrained in women. My journey thus far has been one of an entrepreneur, which is normal, where you go from your startup, or you struggle through. Sometimes you get help along the way, but you get to the point you're focused. You keep your focus on, and then you build what you want to build. Have your vision. It's very, very important to have your vision, and you stick to it. Your vision might not be the biggest vision in the world, but it's your vision and you want to follow it. And then if it changes along the line, you continue to follow it. And it helps when it's something you love. And then you keep at it. Anything that you learn about it, you gain knowledge about it. You gain knowledge about the business. You gain knowledge about the market. You gain knowledge about your clients. And those are the things that actually hold you up together. And of course, then you start to make money. So the profits, you make sure that you actually reinvest yourself, and don't expect that it always be like that. Entrepreneurship is not like that. There are times when it'll be quiet, and there are times when it'll be very good. And we've had a good example with the COVID season, where it was practically dead, and a lot of people may not even recover or even stay in events. But the good thing about it is, as an entrepreneur, you can always divert into something else. That's why you're an entrepreneur. You're there to solve a problem. So if one problem you can't solve it because there's a situation around, then you move into something else. Now it's easier said than done. So sometimes you're so disappointed by the environment. Nobody's spending that much money anymore. How am I going to do this? You must, that entrepreneurial spirit in you makes you rise up again to do something else. So a lot of people have pivoted. A lot of people are collaborating. A lot of people are learning new things. You mustn't feel that there's just one way. You mustn't be too proud. You mustn't think that, I've done this for so many years, I can't do something else. No, you get up and you find the people around you who would encourage you, and people you can collaborate with, and that is how a lot of people are, people have, so events has a whole range of service providers and people who do different things. We use different people. But is the decorator going to say that because she doesn't have an event to decorate, she's going to stop? No, she's going to find new ways of actually using her skill. She's going to teach people how to, make crafts, or there's so many things to do. Events management is like project management. So find something else that you can project manage, so even if it's just to organize people to actually, how do I go on to online events? What do I do? What are the steps I need to take? Learn it, because there's a technical side of it. But the most important thing is that you can manage the series of things. So
all right. So, talking about diversity and all of that, I know the event business in Nigeria market is growing really fast. And I know you had your master's in global biodiversity. How did you venture into the business, given your background in management? It's important for me to ask that question when I heard you talking about diversity.
Okay, nice one. Okay, so global biodiversity, which is mainly, more on environment, but it's all encompassing. I'm sure you've heard about the SDG goals. You've heard about our common good, and we've come a long way. And so I would say my first love is the environment. and
Okay.
and people and how we manage our environment and the resources we have. So time and chance took me into events, and I guess now, because I've been in it for long enough, now I'm going back into more eco-friendly things. So one of the things that COVID has helped me do is reassess my interests and see, okay, so for the next so many years, what would actually make you settle? What would make you happy?
All right.
Okay, so one of the things I know is sustainable development and seeing that things are sustainable. So whether it's work, whether it's your events, whether it's the people you deal with, everything needs to actually look into the future and say that we're not burning out. We're going to have something to keep on going. So for events, there are a few young people now that are going into eco-friendly events. And they're so innovative.
So for those listening to us that do not understand what eco-friendly means, can you please?
Okay, so environmentally friendly. That they, not wasting. Taking what is around you and utilizing it, making use of what is available.
For example?
For example, using recycling things.
Yeah.
Yes, and reusing them for very many
like
other
bottles?
things. Bottles, you could use bottles and decorative ornaments from them. You could use wasted fabric to make cover tops for furniture. You could, design. I've seen a lady who's designed items for traditional weddings with waste from other from the fashion industry.
Interesting.
And wood, leftover wood that they use to make props. There's so many things that some people are doing. It's not very popular yet.
All right.
It's
with the what competitive pressures could there be in your line of business, given absolutely awareness that there are other event managers in the country with big names and classy event execution? We've seen the likes of late Ibido Igodalo and the likes. What are those competitive pressure that you might want to touch on today?
Okay, so competitive pressure for me, because my own vision, for instance, was boutique events, specific known clients that I had clients for over 10 years that were consistent. Quiet, they don't want any noise. They want you to do their events and
anything loud.
They don't want, not so much that they don't want the noise of all, this person doing the event. They want to be the ones in charge of their events. And those were the type of clients I got, hooked onto somehow, and they recommend themselves. So quietly they do this. They're not the loud type. They were big event and big people, but they weren't loud. So the consistency of them. So they, so that was my niche. And you would do their family events, and year after year you do their children's events. So that was my niche. So my competition wasn't in the external. But yes, the more events became more popular, the more you start to decide, okay, so what am I doing? Where am I going? How do I
improve?
How do I improve?
What's in vogue?
Yes, what's current?
Yeah.
I got to a point when I said, oh no, not the millennials. I won't I'm not competing in that space.
Yeah.
So but it's good to see what they're doing. Many of them would come and say, oh, how are you doing this? Why do you do this? Why aren't you so out there like we are? I said, no, you keep on being out there. Come to us when you need advice. So we started going into consulting and actually helping them to execute if they would listen, because they know everything.
So, we spoke earlier about the challenges of women being education and finance within the ambit of empowerment, so to speak. So give us some real talk based on how you have overcome financial challenges in your business. This will impact our female audience deeply, and those who are listening to, or those who even want to venture into your line of business.
In business, everybody is expected to have some money to start, right? But in events, if you align yourself properly, you could actually have someone to actually help you start. There are many younger event managers, as long as they don't want to start all, so large, they could, they could start based on your clients that you don't have time for. So you have those referees and you have those references. In terms of how you now sustain your business, I never advise people to go for loans at the beginning of their business. You have to start to show the potential of making money. It's very important to know that you either get a grant or you get family to help you or get someone to help you to start off. Yes, there are lots of us, just as the predecessor said, there are many loans to help women right now. But if your books are not in order, you can't access them. That's the truth of the matter. There's a lot of money that is not being used right now because people are not well placed. And that by well placed, I mean their books are not in order. So there's a lot of learning. And I think she emphasized on that. There's a lot of learning that you need to understand your environment. I mean, your business. You need to understand the environment. You need to actually have your books in order. Otherwise, there's no money for you.
All right.
So I would advise any woman who's coming up right now, get someone to mentor you, coach you in that area that you've decided you want to go. Things have changed now, so you might want to think it through and say, how do I want to do virtual events? Do I want to do smaller events and more value? So the way I package, because that's going to be important now going forward. The way you package events is more important than how large the event is.
All right. So the salient points right there. I know you've spoken about your selling points in the event industry and the edge when it comes to how you've been able to sustain your business over the years. So this might be my last question to you. On a lighter note, it is essential for women to survive in business and in their careers, in their careers, and of course, equally challenging when she can't or she doesn't excel in the home front, so to speak. Let me put it that way. So give us tips on how women can manage both sides and balance it successfully by combining both their home and their careers together.
It's usually tricky when you don't separate the home from the work. So it's very important to have an understanding and communication open in your home, especially with your partner. Yes, with your partner, because in events you might be, at least post-COVID and pre-COVID, you spend a lot of time out. If your partner doesn't understand that you need to be out and ensuring that your venue is okay and you might be there till morning, he must understand that, or she must understand that. There's some men in the industry as well. So with that open line of communication, areas of trust, areas of understanding, and areas of love, knowing that this is what your partner loves, this is what your partner earns an income from, there's no threat here. They start to share the duties at home. So children, you change your timing as to how you spend time with the children, who puts the children to bed on those days. You start to manage those things. Actually brings a bond between between both parties. But when you're working those hours and you're not on the same level with your partner and you're not communicating the rigors of what you're going through, you will have issues. So you have to address that. Address the communication issues first. And then the rest is a case of, once you start to excel, it should be the joy of your partner to know that you're excelling in what you do, ideally. I'm not going to go into what she talked about in terms of cultural, because that is general. But even with that, a lot of women, and majority of women, are actually bringing stuff home. They're bringing back the bread home. And I think it's time for us to realize that we have to find that balance for women, to continue to encourage them. So they should always have other women to say, look, what you're doing is fine. COVID has actually made us, I am also a member of African Women's Entrepreneurship Program. And during this period, I'm VP for Southwest. So we had to call the women who were home. They couldn't make money. They couldn't. Talking to them and letting them know that they have an heir always helps. So that also translates into their families and makes them confident.
All right. Thank you, Miss Ogundipe for being in the studio with us. It's been a wonderful and inspiring one, I must say, with all the tips that you've shared with us on the show today. Thank you so much. Our closing remarks, courtesy of Omoluabi personality from Goldberg, is women are the salt of our world. Women are indispensable and their impact is ever essential in our society. Let's support women, as Miss Ogundipe has emphasized, and of course, as Miss Adibite have also emphasized on, in all areas, and we will witness more achievements amongst us and more support. You know, this is where I draw the curtains of the show today. I'm sure you all have been educated and inspired with a lot of tips that have been shared with these two wonderful women. Till I come your way next week, my name remains Kike Lomatonda. That doesn't change. You've been on Real Talk with Kike. Bye now.